Do you know the one move you need the second a cop touches your taillight during a stop? When that happens, the stop can turn more tactical fast. And if you start talking the wrong way, you can give away the very words that bury you in court. Subscribe right now and hit like because what I'm about to show you could protect your rights before the stop even gets out of the first minute. If you don't lock these lines into your head today, you may forget them on the worst night of your life. Here's what you're about to learn. Why that taillight touch matters more than most drivers think. The exact words that stop you from volunteering evidence. The one sentence that blocks a lot of bad searches. And the question that forces the stop back into its real lane. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos and the same mistake keeps showing up. Drivers talk too much. They try to be nice. They try to explain. They think honesty alone will save them. Most people have no idea that a routine stop is often won or lost in the tiny gap between the officer walking up and you opening your mouth. Sometimes that tail light touch is just habit. Sometimes it's officer safety. Sometimes it's nothing. But you do not get points for guessing. You get protection by controlling your words, your tone, and your timing. Let me show you exactly how to do that without sounding rude, scared, or combative. Now let's talk about where drivers wreck their own case. You get pulled over, your heart jumps. The officer walks up, maybe they touch the taillight, maybe they shine the light through your back window. And right there, you go into panic mode. You start talking before they even ask a question. You say you're sorry. You say you were only going a little over. You say you're coming from your friend's house. You say there's nothing illegal in the car. You say you don't mind if they look around. That is how people talk themselves into handcuffs. Here's the reality. A traffic stop is not the time to freestyle. It is the time to protect the record. Every extra sentence can become suspicion. Every nervous joke can become a reason to dig deeper. Every yes can become consent. And once your own words are on body cam, your lawyer has to fight uphill. If a cop touches your taillight, take that as your signal to get simple, get calm, and get precise. And the first thing you do is shut down the urge to explain. You do not fill the silence. You do not start telling your life story. You keep it tight. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I do not want to answer any other questions. Word for word. Memorize that line. You are not being rude. You are being smart. During a normal traffic stop, police do not have to read you your Miranda rights just to ask roadside questions. That catches people off guard every day. They think no Miranda means the answers don't count yet. Wrong. That is why this line matters so much. You are giving the required documents, but you are not feeding the stop extra fuel. Here's why this works. A lot of stops grow because the driver starts chatting. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Why are you nervous? Is there anything illegal in the car? Do you mind if I take a look? Those questions sound casual. They are not casual. They are bridges. Once you walk across them, the stop gets longer and more dangerous. Former police officers have confirmed this works because calm, short answers do not give the officer new facts to build on. You are not helping them turn a speeding ticket into a criminal case. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I'm sorry, officer. I'm coming from my cousin's house. I had one beer, but I'm fine and there's nothing in the car." Then the officer hears alcohol, nerves, movement, and contradiction, and the whole stop gets bigger. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I do not want to answer any other questions." Then the stop stays smaller, cleaner, and harder to stretch. Watch what happens when you do this the right way. The officer may repeat the question in a different form. They may act like you're making it weird. They may stand there in silence hoping you talk. Don't take the bait. Just stay calm. If they ask where your documents are, answer only that. If they tell you to step out, comply. If they ask if you've been drinking, you repeat the line, short, flat, clean. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it makes the body cam record look disciplined instead of panicked. And that matters. Judges and juries notice the difference between a driver who fought and a driver who stayed respectful but guarded. The legal backup here is Berkemer versus McCarty. In plain English, the Supreme Court said routine roadside questioning during a normal traffic stop is usually not the same as formal custody, so officers do not have to Mirandize you right away. That means your best protection is not waiting for rights to be read. Your best protection is using your rights before you talk yourself into trouble. Here's the reality. Silence is strongest when you use it early. Have you ever felt that pressure to keep talking during a stop just to seem innocent? Drop a comment below because that pressure is exactly how people give away their case. Now let's get to the second move, and this one saves people from a giant mistake. If the officer asks to search your car, your answer must be clear and immediate. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Those exact 8 words. Say them calmly. Say them once. Say them again if you need to. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because consent is the shortcut that kills a lot of court challenges. If you say yes, even softly, even nervously, even because you felt pressured, that yes can do massive damage later. This is where drivers get fooled. The officer does not always say, "May I search your car?" Sometimes it sounds nicer than that. "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Or, "If you have nothing to hide, we can clear this up fast." Or, "Just open the trunk for me." Or, "Mind stepping out while I check something?" That is why you need one clean line. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." This is 100% legal. You are not resisting. You are not fighting. You are not grabbing anything. You are just refusing to give permission. Bad way, most drivers say, "I mean, sure, I guess that's fine." Then the officer searches, finds something, and your own words become the reason the search survives in court. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then the officer has to rely on real legal grounds instead of your permission. Watch what happens when you use that line. If they had no real basis, the tone often changes. They may try harder to get consent. They may ask the same thing 3 different ways. They may act offended. Stay calm. Do not debate. Do not explain why you said no. Do not say only the front seat. Do not say just be quick. Those are cracks. And cracks are where cases leak out. Let me show you exactly why courts care so much about this. In Schneckloth versus Bustamonte, the Supreme Court said a consent search can still count even if you did not know you had the right to refuse. Read that again in plain English. Police do not have to educate you before you say yes. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. So if you want to keep your challenge alive, you must refuse out loud. And if they search anyway, your refusal still matters. Your lawyer can later argue whether they had lawful cause. But if you consented, you made that fight much harder. That is the whole game. You are not trying to win the argument on the roadside. You are trying to keep your defense alive for later. This is 100% legal. It is one of the smartest things you can do in a stop. The third move is the line that stops endless fishing. At some point, the officer has either handled the traffic issue or started drifting into side questions. That is when you reset the whole stop with one question. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, is the traffic stop over or am I being detained?" Word for word. That line is powerful because it forces clarity. It makes the officer choose. Are you free to go, or do they claim they have a legal reason to hold you longer? Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of bad stops grow in the fog. Not the law. The fog. The driver does not know whether they are still stuck there or just standing around answering questions out of fear. That fog helps police gather more words, more consent, and more time. Your question cuts through it. If the stop is done, you leave. If they say you are detained, then they are owning that choice on body cam. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I guess I'll just stay and answer a few more things." Then 5 extra minutes pass, more questions come, maybe a dog gets called, and the stop keeps growing. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, is the traffic stop over or am I being detained?" Then the officer has to either end the stop or justify holding you longer. Listen closely because this is critical. The Supreme Court case here is Rodriguez versus United States. In plain English, police cannot drag out a traffic stop longer than needed just to chase unrelated stuff unless they have a new legal reason. That means a stop for a taillight, tag, lane drift, or speed ticket cannot just become a bonus investigation because the officer feels curious. But you help yourself when you make the timing clear. You help the record when you ask the question. And you help your lawyer when the body cam shows the exact moment the stop should have ended. Now, this does not mean the officer has to let you go the second you ask. If they truly have reasonable suspicion, they may say you are still detained. Fine. Let them say it. Let them own it. But do not stand there volunteering more. If they say you are free to leave, leave. Do not hang around trying to prove you are a good person. If they say detained, move to the next protection. I choose to remain silent. Short, clean, no speeches. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. Stay with me because this next move is where people either stay protected or accidentally turn a tense stop into a resisting charge. The fourth move is what you do if the officer orders you out of the car. A lot of drivers mess this up because they think stepping out means they lost. No. Arguing on the roadside is what loses. The Supreme Court has already said officers can usually order a driver out of a lawfully stopped car. So do not fight that command. Use it the smart way. Here's exactly what you say. "I will step out and comply. I do not consent to any searches." That line is gold because it does 2 things at once. It shows compliance and it preserves your objection. Bad way. Most drivers say, "You can't make me get out. I know my rights." Then the stop explodes, the officer now has a behavior problem to point at, and your calm legal issue gets buried under an obedience issue. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will step out and comply. I do not consent to any searches. Then you avoid the resisting trap while keeping your rights on the record. This matters more than people think. Pennsylvania versus Mimms says officers can order you out of a lawfully stopped car. So if you fight that order, you are not creating a clean court issue. You are creating a roadside problem. But you still do not have to help a search. You still do not have to chat. You still do not have to open compartments, pop the trunk, or bless a search with your own words. That is the difference between compliance and consent. They are not the same thing. A smart driver knows that. A scared driver mixes them together. Let me show you exactly how this sounds in real life. The officer says, "Step out for me." You say, "I will step out and comply. I do not consent to any searches." Then you move slowly. You keep your hands visible. You do not slam the door. You do not reach back into the car without asking. You do not argue about the law on the shoulder. Former police officers have confirmed this works because respectful compliance lowers the heat, while your refusal stays preserved on camera. That is how you stay safe now and stronger later. Now tie all this together with the law. Berkemer versus McCarty tells you officers can ask roadside questions during a normal traffic stop without reading Miranda first. In simple English, do not wait for a magic warning before protecting yourself. Use fewer words right away. Schneckloth versus Bustamonte tells you a consent search can hold up even if you did not know you could say no. In simple English, if you want to protect your car from a shortcut search, you must refuse clearly. Rodriguez versus United States tells you police cannot keep stretching a traffic stop for side missions without a new legal reason. In simple English, once the traffic job is done, the stop does not get extra time just because the officer wants it. And Pennsylvania versus Mimms tells you officers can order you out of the car during a lawful stop. In simple English, step out if ordered, but do not confuse compliance with consent. That is why these tactics work together. One keeps you from volunteering evidence, one blocks easy consent, one forces clarity about the stop, one avoids turning a rights issue into a resisting issue. Now picture this whole stop from start to finish. You are driving home at night. Lights come on behind you. You pull over safely. The officer walks up and taps your taillight on the way in. Your heart jumps. Wrong way first. You panic. You start talking before asked. You blurt out that you were only speeding because you are tired. You say you are coming from a friend's apartment. You laugh and say there is nothing weird in the car. The officer asks if you mind answering a few questions. You keep chatting. Then they ask to take a quick look. You say yes because you think refusing looks guilty. Now the search happens. Maybe they find something. Maybe they think they smell something. Maybe they keep you there longer waiting on backup. And later, your lawyer has to fight your own words, your own consent, and a body cam video full of free evidence. Now the right way. You pull over, you breathe, you keep your hands visible. The officer walks up after touching the taillight. You do not guess what it means. You go straight into protection mode. You say, "Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I do not want to answer any other questions." The officer asks where you are coming from. You repeat the line. The officer asks if there is anything illegal in the car. You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." The officer gives the warning, then keeps asking side questions. You say, "Officer, is the traffic stop over, or am I being detained?" If they say free to go, you leave. If they say step out, you say, "I will step out and comply. I do not consent to any searches." That is it. No drama, no lecture, no roadside law school, just a clean record. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because court fights are often about what was said, when it was said, and whether you gave the government the opening yourself. Next week, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed coming from your car. Subscribe right now because that one sentence gets people searched every single day, and you do not want to be guessing when that moment hits. So remember this, if a cop touches your taillight, that is your cue to get calm and precise. First, give documents but stop volunteering answers. Second, refuse consent with one clean sentence. Third, force clarity by asking if the stop is over or if you are being detained. Fourth, if ordered out, comply physically but never give up your search objection. That is how you stay respectful, stay safe, and stop helping the case against you. Hit subscribe so you catch the next video on the smell excuse and roadside searches. Smash that like button if this script just gave you a plan you did not have before. And drop a comment telling me which exact line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.